Hello viewers from wherever you're watching us from. You're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we are broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. My name is Alu Sise, and it's now time for your weekly State of Affairs program. Well, this week my guest is the Managing Director of the National Water and Electricity Company, Gallo Sedi. Mr. Sedi, thank you so much for joining me on the State of Affairs program.
You're very welcome.
To start with, NAWEC has received extensive financial support from both government and institutions like the World Bank. Yet the issue of power and water outages is still prevalent despite this significant funding. Why?
Okay, right now where the funding inputs are, the outcomes are not yet realized because most of these projects have not yet matured. So we are in that process of implementation. So unless these projects mature, you will not see the outcomes of those objectives. So we are at that interface at the moment where the projects have been implemented.
And what are these projects that you said?
Okay, there are lots of different projects. Some of the projects are to do with the upgrades of the existing networks. Yeah. This is the transmission lines in the electricity sector side. Some of the substations transformers have been replaced. Also, some of the networks, which are the distribution lines, have been renewed. There's a lot of work going on the network itself, like I said, trying to improve them, upgrade them, so it can actually meet the demand. Because right now what is happening is most of these transformers are overloaded and the network cannot actually discharge the electricity that is available. So then you have all these blackouts and trips within the network. So these have been now improved, but it's like I said, the projects are not yet completely realized. So when they are realized, then these power cuts and these issues will be significantly reduced.
And talking about these projects, let's just take a look at the OMVG. Mm-hmm. At what is the current status of the OMVG project?
So the OMVG project, alhamdulillah, is now completed all the way from Guinea, coming to Guinea-Conakry to Guinea-Bissau, through Senegal, to Soma in the Gambia, all the way to Brikama. So that OMVG line is already completed and it is being utilized. So power is flowing through that line now.
Okay.
Now the remaining section that we are working on now is the 225 between Brikama to Jambur, Jambanjele, which means if that section is completed, then we will be able to discharge the electricity that we can get from our imports from Brikama, where it is choked at the moment, into the GBA network itself.
So can we say it's not completed yet because we haven't started benefiting from the OMVG?
No,
that link is still missing between Brikama and the GBA.
Well, I think we are benefiting because the power is coming all the way to Brikama. Okay. And when it gets to Brikama, there's a bottleneck. And that bottleneck is what is going to be relieved when we take it from Brikama all the way to Jambanjele. Now, from Brikama, we can discharge up to 60 megawatts. Okay. But the potential is more if we can complete that stretch, which hopefully by mid-January, that line will be completed. And there will be more stability within the...
Mid-January 2025?
2025, yeah.
Okay. And when you look at the country, like I said, we have the OMVG here, we have the Senelec, we have the car power SIP. How much electricity does the country need, or how much does the country consume at the moment?
So right now, our peak period, the highest peak that we've realized in the country so far, within the GBA here, is about 106 megawatts. Okay. So on average, in the day, we're getting about 96 to 100 megawatts. Okay. And if I can tell you from Guinea, right now we can take up to 70 megawatts. Okay. With Senelec, we can take up to 50, 60 megawatts if we want to. And car power is 30 megawatts. Okay. So the electricity is there, but now is to move from receiving that electricity and discharging it It's just like at your roundabout, it's choked. Now you want to free it so that the traffic can move on. That's where we are now. So that 225 from Brikama to the Jambur section, if that is completed, it means then we have relieved the pressure, the bottleneck at Brikama.
So what is responsible for that delay?
Okay, this project should have been realized a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now, every project comes with its own issues. Now, one of the biggest problems was the PAPs, which is the affected properties. People who are affected need to be compensated. And right now, most people, when they hear this is a World Bank funded project, their expectations are very high and they want to ask for a lot of money. Some people are reasonable, they will accept what is valued and they will take the compensation, but some people want more. And you cannot force them, it's their property. So you have to work with them to try to convince them, bring them to the table, they accept, and then you compensate them. So that was a big bottleneck.
Okay.
Apart from that, the other issue we had was theft.
Okay.
You know, the project, some of the equipment that was needed to complete the transmission lines were stolen. And because of that, it causes delay, which means they have to order the materials again into the country, and that takes also time. Otherwise, this 225 completion would have been completed by now.
And talking about theft, what happened? What action have you taken to ensure these things are addressed?
So this actually is it's under the custody of the contractor. Okay. It was not a NAWEC responsibility. It was in their stores, and they didn't realize that these aluminium clamps were being stolen. I think some people are using it to melt, to make pots, not realizing the importance of it. So over time, it's been stolen slowly. By the time they really need it, it's already gone. That's when the reality came in. So they don't have any other options but to order them to come back.
Earlier on, you mentioned that, I mean, the electricity that we consume is 106 megawatts. Of this, how much of this demand can NAWEC supply? Putting aside Senelec, Car Power, and OMVG, NAWEC as a national entity, how much can NAWEC supply?
Okay, so NAWEC right now, if I should tell you, the available capacity that we have at the moment is about 12 megawatts. 12 megawatts. That is, the generators are there, they are ready. You can switch them on and they are on. Okay. But the expected capacity by end of December, end of January would be about 35 megawatts. Okay. So we are working to bring these generators back on. And if we bring them back on, they are just as a backup. So they will not be running continuously because they are more expensive to run compared to the imports that we are getting. Yeah.
But when you look at this, I mean, like you said, I mean, it shows that NAWEC doesn't have enough capacity to supply in terms of looking at the demands of electricity in this country.
Okay, so if you look at the energy roadmap.
Just in the event Senelec said, I mean, we're out of this deal, Car Power is gone, what happens?
So you see, that's why all that cannot happen at the same time, right?
Well, it's possible.
Very unlikely.
Okay.
Because these are different entities, different businesses. So Car Power is a different entity, different business, a different contract. Senelec is different, and we also have Guinea, so EDG. So all this.
But even there's a breakdown. Car Power can have a breakdown. Senelec can have another issue.
Yes.
So in that case, what will NAWEC do?
So this is the case. We've had Car Power go to do some maintenances. They are off. So we have to take more from Senelec. If Senelec have a problem, which they had sometimes, we take more from, we make sure that we maximize the take from Car Power and also more from Guinea. So it's more diverse, we have more options, and the better. So yes, we need to have base load in the country. Yeah, and the roadmap is specifying about at least 50% of our demand should be available in the country. And that is the strategy now, to make sure that we bring these generators back on up to a minimum of 60 to 70 megawatts readily available. And that is something that is very feasible. So we have a plan and we are working towards that.
And talking about the plan, I mean, does this, the Gambia electricity sector roadmap, which is 2019-2025, but how far have you gone in terms of this roadmap?
Okay, in terms of...
2025 is next year.
Yeah, if you are talking about access, right, I think we are very far and it's very achievable.
Okay.
So to have access to all communities in the country, we are very far with it. So most of these contracts, like I said, are just about to mature. And when all these projects are completed, we'll be close to that 80 to 90%. There are some communities that were missed out during the initial surveys. So all those now have been captured, and they are now being looked at so that we can make sure that those missed communities are now funded. So
why were they missed, and who was responsible for identifying the communities that should benefit from the electricity expansion?
You see, the communities in the Gambia, rural Gambia, you can go and you find two communities that don't, probably they are together, but they are two different communities, and you think it's a one community. Okay. So you come and you identify a community, and the next minute they tell you, no, you have Sare Pate, then you have Sare Galo somewhere, and they are very close to each other. So those things happen. Surveyors go out there, not deliberately. They try to identify these communities and they miss some of them. But now what we've done is we've included, a survey is done, and the governors, the chiefs, the Alcalo community members were all involved to identify all these missing communities so that they are all captured, which is the process that have been concluded very recently.
And like you said, are you saying we are actually on track to achieving this universal access by next year?
We are on track. By end of 2025, if we don't have it 100%, we'll be over 80%.
What will you point to as something that really convinces you that is achievable? Next year, 2020 is just here. We are in November.
It's because looking at the projects that are right now being implemented, is where they are right now. Most of the projects are now have imported all their materials that they need into the country, which is the most difficult part. So now it's actually digging and putting the pipes in the ground and stringing and getting the electricity meters connected. So I think we are far into the projects. So I am confident that by end of 2025, we will be very, very far into achieving that goal.
Earlier on, you mentioned the issue of the Senelec and the car power. I would just like to find out from you, I mean, do you think, in your opinion, I mean, they are good value for money?
That's a very good question. Good value for money depends on the time we are in today.
Okay.
So if you ask me, today we need car power, right? We need Senelec and we need EDG. This is the beauty of having also the OMVG line. We can get power from Guinea, we can get power from Ivory Coast, even beyond. That's the beauty of having that. So if you're asking me about value, today, yes, because we need that power. So yes, it's value for money.
Because the Minister of Petroleum, your predecessor, Nani Juara, told Parliament in September that the Gambia government had an outstanding debt of over 10 billion CFA, which is equivalent to $1.26 billion to Senelec in unpaid invoices for 3 months. This was May, June, and July. Is this sustainable as an independent country? How long will you continue to be paying $1.2 billion, just for 3 months to Senelec?
Okay, you see, this is why having different sources of electricity, cheaper energy, is a good strategy. Because with the OMVG now, the market, it becomes competitive. So now, for example, right now, we are taking more electricity from Guinea.
Okay.
compared to Senegal.
Oh, really?
Already.
Since when?
Since we started, I think about 4-6 weeks ago,
Okay.
when we started taking electricity from Guinea. Now we are taking more from them.
Why?
Because the rates are different.
What's the difference? Give us
You
the
see,
rates. What's the rates of Guinea and Senegal?
Well, you know, when it comes to contracts, you know, there are some confidentiality in contracts.
Okay.
But what I can tell you is that the hydro rate is cheaper than what we are getting from Senelec. So now we take more from Guinea because they are cheaper. Okay. And that closes that gap for us. And NAWEC as an entity itself needs to do better. Okay. We have a lot of losses because of the networks that we have. Okay. And if we can get those fixed, we will close that gap of debt that we are talking about. But the amount of power we are importing, is not $5. That's just what it is. Okay. People hear the amount in the numbers, they think it's huge, but that's just
it's huge. $1.2 billion.
But that's the business. NAWEC is huge. NAWEC's business is not $10,000 or $100 million. We're talking about millions of US dollars in months. So it's not a small business. So people need to just realize that. And the debt part is more of cash flow, okay, right? It doesn't mean we cannot pay. It's just because of cash flow. So we have to actually pay in foreign currency, and we are receiving dollars from our customers. So that's a challenge itself. So NAWEC have to go and seek to get forex to be able to pay. So that's a challenge. So those delays cause.
And now with the way the dollars is depreciating to the foreign to CFA, of course the dollar and the pound sterling, you will continue to pay more.
That's a reality of the business. If you are paying us in dollars here and we have to pay somebody in dollars, if the dollars is depreciating, the gap is getting wider. So that's just the reality of the business.
And indirectly, this goes back to the consumers.
Okay, yeah. Indirectly,
they're indirectly paying this thing now.
Okay, so if you look at the tariff, right? The tariff is fixed, is steady right now. Okay, right? Since before you have a tariff and it doesn't increase every day, every other day, despite there are changes in the cost of supplying electricity. So the tariff is fixed. So there's always a gap, and it could be bigger or slightly smaller. So that's where government comes in to inject money to support NAWEC to fill that gap. Otherwise, you have to increase your tariff so that people pay for the cost.
Okay. Yeah. And I know NAWEC has not yet made the agreement public, the Senelec and the NAWEC agreement. But what does this agreement cover? And how long? For how long will you continue to, have this agreement with Senelec?
So right now, the contract we have with Senelec is up to 2027. Okay. Right? And if you ask me if I can make it longer, I will make it longer.
Why?
Because it's security.
Security?
It is security because it's a market.
Okay.
You see, the OMVG, the concept of interregional trade, right? Okay. It encourages trade between regions. I can tell you right now we are taken from Guinea, and Senelec is taken also from Guinea. But now, when we go into the dry season, Senelec will even be supplying Guinea. Yeah? So the Gambia also, we are on a trajectory where we should be able to take advantage of the resources that we have, which is like the sun, get more energy out of it, and also export. The tender that is out right now, about 50 megawatts, that is supposed to go to Soma. So if that is up and running, there's another 100 megawatts that is supposed to come after that. So all that is to be able to not only supply the Gambia, but also to export energy. So it's trade, it's a business, it's a market. Okay. So to say that we have to have 100% self-sufficient energy in the country, if the Gambian people can afford it.
No, but it's one thing to
fine.
say we can't afford it, but what I can understand is having NAWEC and then you cannot even afford maybe 50% of what your country needs in terms of power supply. Isn't that worrying for you?
So,
at least if you could provide maybe 60, 70%, yes, that's understandable, but you're going to even provide 50.
So, you're right, that's a worry, but the realities are we are working towards that. That's what I said before, that the generators that we have, if we can bring them all back on, we should be able to have up to 70 megawatts, right? And
what will it take to bring them back on?
So if I should tell you right now, by March 2026, so 2025, we should be able to bring up to 50 megawatts back up and running. Yes, now. With no input from our resources.
Have you done any study to know how much that will cost NAWEC to bring back these generators?
You see, what we have done is over the period, we have made orders for spares. For each of these generators, we've already spent maybe 50% of the cost for some of them. Some of them is nearly 100% have been paid. We're just waiting for the materials to arrive. I cannot give you a global figure because, we didn't say, okay, it's going to cost me so much. But in a nutshell, close to about, say, 18 million US, right, to get everything back to where it should be.
Can that get you new generators? Some people will say these generators, they have been there as long as since Jawara's time.
Yeah, okay. So there are generators that are fairly new.
Okay.
So if you go to, in Brikama, they call it Brikama 3. Brikama, there's 2 generators that were 2020. So they are fairly new, right? And there is a generator in Kotu that is 2018. So all these are fairly new generators. And as long as you can bring them back on and maintain them, they are meant to last for the next 20, 30 years.
But that has been the problem, the issue of maintaining them. What do you think has not been going right in the past that NAWEC has not been able to maintain them, like you are saying right now?
Okay, if you look at the strategy, the NAWEC, the energy strategy, one of it is to look at private sector, right? Private sector involvement.
Yes, I was going to bring that question.
Yeah. No, the realities are, as a public entity, we are supposed to run like a business, okay? But the processes that we have to go through does not make us efficient enough to be that good enough to maintain the assets that we have. That's a reality. I think the private sector can do it better. Because if you give me the leeway today and I need to buy a bolt and I know that it will fix my laptop, I'll just pick up the telephone and call somebody I know and they bring it for me. But for a public entity, you'll have to go 3-4 months to get the same thing. So bringing in the private sector gives you that leverage so that they can actually get on with the job. And capacity is another thing. Yeah. So there were very good engineers that came through NAWEC. Good engineers. Even right now we have very good engineers. But sometimes it's the resources, right? And you grapple with your limited resources and you try to prioritize stuff. So as an entity, public, it's difficult. So the private sector is the way to go. That's my view. And I've said it the last time that bring in the private sector, they'll make profit, which is fine, but they'll do better. Yeah.
Okay, and at least there will be competition somehow.
There will be competition, and the realities are you'll have a better service, right? You as a businessman, if you know that you have reliable electricity, you can plan better. If you're the old woman sitting there selling ice, know that they will have reliable electricity, they can plan better to sell their ice. But if you get in power cuts every 5 seconds, it interrupts your business and cumulatively the whole economy. So having the private sector there gives you that reliability, and it ensures that the economy grows with that.
I would like to establish something from you right now. As we speak, how many of these generators at NAWEC are good enough
to be,
as a backup?
We've identified about 7 of them.
That are
7 of them we can bring back up, and they will be reliable.
But as we speak, you can't use them at the moment.
No, because we have, like I said, we have 2 that are running at the moment.
Okay.
The other ones are due for overhaul.
Okay.
So we cannot keep running them because they are due for maintenance. So all those are there. We have to, the spares are here for some of them. So we'll start to bring them back on.
So for how long have they been down, these generators? How many years now?
Okay. So that's a good question. Some of the generators have been down for some time.
Okay. Some time, like
for
how many years?
Maybe a year or 2.
Okay.
But there are some that are maybe 6 months. There are some, it varies.
Okay.
It varies.
I'm driving to something. 2 years ago, responding to concerns relating to NAWEC during a meeting with the Banjul Muslim elders at the State House, the president claimed that a lot of work has been done on NAWEC. At the time he said, and I quote, "At the moment, the Gambia has enough capacity. We are even shutting down some of our machines because there is sufficient capacity. Nothing more is needed." And he went further to say, the capacity is mixed. We have our generators, we have OMVG, and we have the capacity supplying electricity. At the moment, to synchronize them is the problem right now.
Okay.
What's your reaction to this?
So I think...
do we have more than enough capacity that NAWEC has to shut down their generators?
Yes, I think if you put it in context, the answer is yes.
Okay.
We do.
Yeah.
What he said is not wrong.
Okay.
What he said is correct. It's just the context,
okay.
right?
Okay.
Right now, as I said to you, we can take up to 100 megawatts of power from Guinea if we want, right? The problem we have is actually what he said, is to get it from Brikama and bring it into the GBA. And this 225 that we described before is the bottleneck. It's like you come to a junction where all the cars are meeting and the road is not yet ready ahead. So you have a congestion there. That's the problem. So if you go and ask the people in the provinces up to Brikama, in terms of reliable electricity, they'll tell you we are very, very rarely they go out, because the problem is not there. It's from Brikama coming into the GBA. The electricity, the capacity there right now we can take from Senelec, from Car Power, from EDG, and plus what we have is more than what we need. So that's a fact. The problem is the network. So
is it that you shut down these generators because you feel you don't need them, or they are shut down because you can use them?
Okay.
These are 2 different things.
Shutting
down because yes, we have enough. We are salving them for as option B, and shutting them down because you can't use them. Okay.
So the realities are our own generators, like I said before, are more expensive to run because the economic scale is not there. These are small generators. If you look at the rate of running in terms of cost, they are more costly. Okay. So the idea is to have them there as backup. Okay. So when you have the generators there as backup, is in case there is a power cut, say Senelec is down, then you can bring the generators back on to fill that gap. Or if Guinea goes off, some days ago that was happened. Okay. Guinea had a problem, Senelec filled the gap. And there was a time that Senelec had a problem. We have to bring the generators back on. So the whole idea is to have a backup system up to 50%. That's what the roadmap said. Okay. If we can have more, the better. So the future is this. There's a lot of investors interested in the Gambia. I'm inside, I'm telling you, there's a lot of outside investors who want to come and invest in this country. And
so what is blocking them? Why?
Nothing is blocking them.
Okay.
We are at a stage where the country is open for business. Because if you look at investors wanting to invest in the country, it's because the environment is there. It's an enabled environment. There's stability. We have sunlight. Yeah. So if you look at the 23 megawatt solar power plant
I was coming to that. I mean, the share of the renewable energy in the final energy consumption. What is the share of renewable energy?
That's about 9% right now.
Okay.
So, and that's the future, right? We want more solar systems in the country, but solar systems that also have storage, right? Battery. So that when the peak period, between 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock at night, that's when everybody wants to use energy. And that's when you need it. So if you have solar and you don't have that storage, you cannot discharge at that time. So the future is to have more solar, but to come with storage. Okay. And that's what's also happening with the current tender that is out. It will be day and night, day and peak period discharge.
Earlier on, I mean, like you keep emphasizing the need to have private investors, I mean, also, playing in this important sector. I have spoken to so many people who will tell me they will suggest that we even separate the electricity and the water division. Do you agree?
Okay, I think I can give you my personal opinion.
Yes.
There are advantages and disadvantages.
What are they?
Okay, so right now we are together.
Yeah.
Okay, but the biggest problem is people notice electricity first before water, right? So immediately electricity is gone, the focus is on NAWEC. But there is water shortages out there. You don't hear all that outcry compared to the electricity. Electricity is big.
But there's still outcry regarding water.
There is still outcry, but the attention is not on it from an investment perspective, right? Most of the investment right now is focused on electricity. So if you have water separated, water will fight for its own. We call it the second cousin to electricity. So I think the disadvantage is the focus is on electricity, because electricity drives everything. Even the outcry is electricity. But water also, it's a need and it not to be focused on. So if you separated them, that's an advantage. And also attracting funds like grants for water would be easier when it is separated compared to when it's bundled. But again, like I said, there are advantages and disadvantages for both options.
And still talking about water, I would just like to know from you, I mean, as we speak, from your own understanding, I mean, what percentage of the population actually have access to safe drinking water?
It's close to 60%.
Okay.
Yeah, 60%.
And mainly we are doing well?
Within the, I would 60%?
say 60%?
I think
there's still 40% out there then.
I think we can do better. Okay. If you ask me, yes, we can do better. And that's a fact. The Gambia is a very small country, I think if we continue on the momentum that we are on right now in terms of investment into our infrastructure, if that momentum continues for the next 2-3 years, you will see a big improvement in the utility sector, both electricity and water. Yeah. Because, for example, for the water sector, I can tell you there are a lot of projects right now that are about to start for water, and immediately those mature within the next 1.5 to 2 years. A lot of the problems we have within the GBA here, we would have addressed most of them.
Mr. Sedi, I would like to know from you, what has now been doing? It's like electricity is a problem, water is a problem, and you're telling us about 2 years ahead. What has now been doing?
Okay.
I can't blame you because you were just appointed in March of this year. You are just less than a year as head of NAWEC. So I'm so, you must have, you found all these problems there. But what do you think has been the core problem that still, we cannot actually enjoy that, stable electricity supply and water?
Okay. So the issue is this. With electricity and water system in the country, let's take water for example. There hasn't been much investment in the water sector, right? So if you don't have investment in the water sector, most of our distribution networks are customer driven. Like you would want water from here to there, you will pay for it. So sometimes you influence the size of pipe that goes there. And that is all over our network.
Okay.
That means we don't have a very good network. Okay. So investment is one problem. Number two is also the age of our assets. Okay. Right? Most of these assets are since in the, I would call it in the 70s.
Okay.
So they need to be renewed. Electricity is the same problem. So the assets are just old.
Okay.
And that's why we have all these projects now to try to renew this old, replace basically these old assets. Okay. And that's why I'm saying, and I've said it many times, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It will take at least close to 2 years. But the reality is, as we go into 2025, towards the end of 2025, people will start to see the improvements that are happening in the background. It's tough, you know. I think people are getting outages. Even me myself, I experienced.
In this, it is tough. For example, many communities, such as, of course, Talinding, Bundung, and sometimes even hospitals, are, you know, they do go out of water without water for a day or 2 days. Isn't that worrying?
It is worrying, but we're doing something about it. So that's what I'm saying. There are projects in place. Immediately those mature, some of these problems will be history, right? And we do come up with some interventions. Like, for example, the hospital. Yeah. We've come out with some interventions.
Last week, RVT, Edward Francis Teaching Hospital, there was no water. Are you aware?
So I'm aware.
What happened?
The reason,
what was the problem? And what did you do to resolve it?
We fixed it. The reason was that we had a burst pipe, that's okay. Number one, in one of the transmission lines coming from the Welengara areas. Okay. So immediately you get those things, you have interruption in supply. So that's one factor. And the other factor is we also have a truck that went and drove into one of the electric poles, and most of our boreholes in the Welengara wellfield area were down. But for nearly a day.
This is not the first time. This is now becoming something that happens every now and then. The other time I was in Banjul at the School of Nursing, and I saw students were walking out, fetching water from outside to come, and then it's a concern.
Yeah, it's like I said, if you look
places like Bundung or Talinding, sometimes, you know, people have to wake up midnight.
Let's say I realize that, and to be honest, I feel I empathize with those people. Yeah, I wouldn't want to wake up at 3 o'clock looking for water. So if I can find a solution, I'll put the solution on the table. We are putting in place some interventions right now as I speak. We've got some boreholes drilled. Okay. And we are laying a line to relieve to put more water into the Bundung area. Okay. And that within the next 6 weeks, I am expecting that most part of Bundung we would have sorted it out. So we have these small interventions coming, and the projects that are also in line, immediately they come on. The World Bank have funded a project that we've drilled about 6 boreholes in Brikama area, the Jambai area. When those come on, it will improve the water supply system. How would I describe this? Right now, NAWEC infrastructure is in a state where it is moving from very poor, yeah. Let's put it on a scale of 0 to 10. Okay. So 0 being very bad. Yeah. Let's say it was at, say, 50%. Okay. Within the next year and a half, it will be close to 70%. People will start to realize the benefits of these projects that are being implemented now. It's tough now, but there's light at the end of the tunnel.
I don't know whether you have any sort of monitoring. I mean, sometimes, you know, when you walk around town and you see uncovered water pipes, burst pipes here and there, what are you doing about that?
Okay. So we are trying to fix the burst pipe as best as we can. Like I said, some of these assets have been there for many, many years. And with erosion in some of the streets, you can see the pipes on the ground. NAWEC do not have the resources right now to go and replace all of these networks. But we have projects to do that, okay. Right? So if you have a burst pipe in your area and it is very bad, call 1669.
Okay.
1669.
1669.
Yes.
Okay.
And
it's a hotline?
It's NAWEC hotline. Even me myself,
okay,
I prefer if I have a problem, even if I have a blackout, you know what I do?
Okay.
I call 1669.
And if you call them anytime, you will get them?
I will. You see, the thing is sometimes the line is busy. You may not get them, but don't give up. You can
because I'm trying to get them.
You can try.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but don't give up, because they will pick up the line and you can. They'll tell you what the problem is.
Okay.
Right. So.
Hello.
There you go.
Hello. Yes.
Yes.
Is this NAWEC?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. Continue.
So there you
I
go.
was just trying to confirm.
No, I do that myself.
All right.
You know, because we want 1669 to work for our customers.
Okay.
Because it's easier for everybody to know that if they call that number, they'll get a solution to it. Even if their problem is not fixed, but they will understand what the issue is. Okay. So I tested myself. I can tell you right now, we are building a customer center, right? And that facility will be a state of the art, right? And there'll be more opportunities to have more people there to man these systems. So if you have a problem, you just call them. Even if you call me, it's quicker to get an answer from them than me.
But what is the problem with NAWEC? Sometimes, just yesterday, I experienced it at my home. I mean, I was at home and then the light was just coming on and off, on and off. I was wondering, is someone actually playing with the button at NAWEC or what? What is the problem sometimes? What actually causes this?
Okay. So the on and off.
Yeah, I mean, they will come minute off, minute off, and sometimes you wonder what's going on.
Okay, so sometimes what happens is the overloading of the system.
Okay.
So it's like if you can supply 10 people with water, and then you have 20 people there trying to get the same water. It breaks down. Then you tell them to queue properly, and then you start to serve them again. So it's just the overloading. The system will trip. The transformer will trip because what you want to take is too much, so it will trip.
But do you consider the amount, the number of equipment that are getting destroyed as a result of this on and off?
You see, if we have our way, it will never happen, right? Again, my advice to our customers is make sure that your wiring systems, your internal systems, you put in your own protections. Do not rely on NAWEC. Put in your own protection system so that if you have a surge, it will trip. But if your internal electrical system is not good and you have surges, it may affect your system. It's not what we want. But like I said before, the 225 is the golden bullet for us right now. Immediately that is done, most of this on-off will be reduced significantly.
Remind us again, when
will it be? I said by mid-January.
Mid-January.
Yeah, that should be ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are getting mid-January, March, next 2 years, 1 year. I hope one day they will they will vie you and say the MD said this instead of affairs. So
exactly.
so
exactly.
Yeah.
So I will only promise if I know that this is possible, right, or it's going to happen. That's what I would say. I will not promise here to sweet talk.
But I mean, you talk to so many NAWEC customers, they'll be like, okay, sometimes their concerns are not, usually go unanswered. I mean, how is NAWEC addressing these your public concerns and feedback?
Okay, so this is, we have a customer center, right? And I just said, a new one is being built, it will soon be ready, right? We are going to be more customer focused because for NAWEC to go forward, we should be able to respond, right? And to respond, we need to understand what the customer's issues are to be able to do that. So if that is ready, if people have problems, they can escalate the problem. If 1669 is not taking the call, send an email.
Well, they pick my call right now.
Exactly. So sometimes you will call them, but because the line is busy, it will say, hold on, we'll forward your call.
Yeah, it happens even with GSM companies. When you call customer, sometimes the line is busy.
Yeah. So never give up. just keep calling them and they will pick up and they'll take your name, they will record what the problem is. If they don't know, they will say, we'll call you back. They will go and find out, and then they will call you back. So please make use of 1669.
So how are water and electricity rates determined? And of course, what are the options available for customers struggling to pay their bills? For now, people are complaining that gas power, you buy 500 before you realize it's gone. Is it because of Senelec?
No.
That now, we have to pay the price?
No. I think the cost of electricity is expensive.
Okay.
It's not only in the Gambia. It's just an expensive product, right? What the customers are paying for electricity, right, it's not the actual cost.
Really?
No, it's not. If you really want to charge for the actual cost of the power that we are generating, sending to the customer, it will be more. Tariffs will go up.
So who is paying for the balance now?
That's where the government is coming in.
Okay.
That's why government helps NAWEC, supports NAWEC to fill that gap, the difference. Otherwise, NAWEC will not survive.
Okay.
Because what we are selling the power for is less than what we are generating the power for. So obviously there is a debt there.
So NAWEC is running at loss?
That's the reality. But because government is helping, it gives us that balance.
In terms of ensuring that your workforce, is up to date, or they have the up to date training and expertise, which is very crucial in terms of managing and maintaining your facilities. Could you just share with us what are your strategies for employee training and of course technical expertise?
Okay, I think my strategy is to build capacity and to try to focus on the young ones, not us. We are phasing out. We need to bring and train the young ones, right? So if we train the young ones and they grow up, they become skilled, hands-on trainings, not just to go and study and get a master's and you think you are okay.
Yeah, because things are evolving, so they need that constant training.
They need training,
yeah.
But training is not just the paper.
No, not really.
Exactly.
Not really.
So you have to go and train and apply yourself.
It's one thing to get the paper. It's another thing to have to get the know-how.
But most I will tell you now, most young ones now, they just want to be seen that, oh, I've got my master's.
Yeah, I've got my master, I've got my PhDs.
And then
in the actual practical,
you cannot apply yourself. You cannot even write a proper letter.
Yeah.
Now, the focus is to change the mindset that if you want to grow and develop yourself, you have to be able to apply. And to apply yourself is you get trained and you work hard, and get mentored. So I think there's a lot of capacity building needed, not just in NAWEC, but in most institutions in the Gambia. Yeah.
And since you were appointed in March, how has the support been from, of course, your senior management and staff? I know sometimes, when you come in new, some people are resistant to change. You try to bring in new things and they're like, oh no, this is not the way we have been doing it here. Have you faced that in any way? And if yes, how has that affected, your plans and vision for NAWEC?
Okay. So, me coming into NAWEC, I was expecting that there will be resistance.
Okay.
And that's normal.
Okay.
Change, it doesn't matter where you go in the world.
Yeah.
Change, you'll always have resistance, right? And you'll have those who are resisting because they prefer the status quo.
Yeah.
You will have those who are resisting because they don't know you. They don't know what you have. So they have to try to first test you, see what you can do before they actually come on board. You have those who are just afraid of change.
Yeah.
Some people just don't want change.
Yep.
But for me, I know that as a leader, you have to accept the fact that you have to create enemies, right? You have to create enemies. If you want everybody to be nice, you want to be nice to everybody, then you don't need to be there. You will not make progress. So my focus is on building a team that are there to know that the outcome is for the Gambian people, right? They come to work to add value. If you come to work and you don't add value, then you stay at home.
But that also starts with the leader himself, him or herself.
Exactly.
If you don't show those examples, then you are giving a problem. Because if you are asking your staff to come to work at 8 a.m. and you only come to the office at 9 a.m., then it's a problem.
I'm not the type who is going to sit here and try to blow my own whistle, right? I wouldn't do that. Yeah. But I can tell you, maybe I'll be the first to be at the office and maybe the last person to leave the office. If I should tell you, last week, maybe Wednesday, I spent the whole night outside till 5 in the morning.
You can't sleep with these frequent power cuts.
Not even power cuts. Not only power cuts, even the water.
Yeah.
You know, there are some emergencies you want to have visibility. You see, since I entered NAWEC to now, I didn't see it as an opportunity to go there and change the whole world and fix the whole world. For me, it's more of understanding what are the issues, who are the people there who can add value to NAWEC, what changes we need to put in place. That's the phase we are going through. And for me to be able to do that, I need to understand the problem from the ground. Okay. So as a leader, I don't think sitting in the office alone is enough. Yeah. If you come to my office, I'm not the type who would have the tie and, you know. So I saw the example. My entire career has been in the trenches, and that's still where I am. And hopefully, that mindset that I have, I can transfer that to the people who really want to add value. I had a chat with a friend of mine a few weeks ago, and what he said is, Mr. Sedi, the day you feel that you are not adding value, that is the day you should move on.
And the day you feel you are not valued anymore in a particular setup, that's the day you should start thinking of
you move on.
Yeah.
So there are distractors. Yeah. I am a disruptor. Yeah. I am there to disrupt the status quo. I'll do the right thing for the country. People may see it otherwise, but if I want to come and run on status quo, we'll be here another 5 years talking about the same thing. So I will disrupt and I will step on toes, but if you are somebody who you are good and you are doing your job, you are my best friend. My PA told me 3 days ago, Mr. Sedi, you need to smile. I said, it's just me. If I'm listening to you, you think I'm angry. It's because I'm listening to you. Yeah. And I will smile with you if I know that you are a gentleman and you are trustworthy and you are doing your job. But I will not smile with you if you are a time waster. Why should I do that? Yeah. So NAWEC, I can tell you there are very good people there. Okay. It's a matter of just now building that team and changing some mindsets. Okay.
And finally, I'm told we don't have time, but in just a minute, I mean, your message to the viewers and, of course, Gambians.
Okay, so my message to Gambians is that NAWEC is an entity that drives the economy, right? NAWEC is the biggest entity in this country that drives this economy. Let us work together as Gambians, yeah? Let's forget about this noise. If you don't throw stones, right, at people that you don't even know, let's support each other as Gambians and build NAWEC. And we can only do that if we, let people do the job, appreciate it. But if you go to outside now, what do you hear about NAWEC? Yeah. Everything is negative. But there are good things happening. Maybe we need to do a good PR ourselves. Exactly. But the message I want to say is, Gambia is small. As Gambians, we can change Gambia if we work together. Let's love each other. This thing about this person is this person is this. You don't even know the people you are talking about. Let's put that aside and love each other and work and develop this country. If we don't do that, we'll always be where we are.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gallo Saidi, Managing Director of the National Water and Electricity Company. He was my guest on the State of Affairs this week. It was good to have you on the program, and thank you so much for your honest views. I mean, they often say, a problem shared is half solved, and I quite appreciate that, you have been very honest with your views as far as the challenges that NAWEC is facing is concerned. Well, viewers, with that, we bring an end to this week's edition of your weekly State of Affairs program. I was your host, Alu Sise. Do join us next week. Until then, bye-bye from me and the entire production team.